Good morning, guys. So I'm going to kind of discuss the events of going to the local, I don't know, call this convenience store, variety store in Newton, New Hampshire. Count about 3,000 people, 5 confirmed cases of coronavirus. So I go in there with precautions. I've got my gloves on. I'm only there to get milk and beer, which are the most important things. I'll pan away because I think somebody's leaving and I don't want to reveal their identity. But at the end of the day, this is how I'm approaching it. I'm actually going only to this convenience store now to get my stuff, in and out in less than a minute. They probably get about, 30 people, probably max a day. So my chances here of catching coronavirus are very slim. So while I was enjoying my beer at home, I was approached by a confidential resource, a subject matter in all things coronavirus, COVID-19, who is willing to do or conduct an interview in my backyard to allow all of you to understand a little bit more about what's going to happen to us in the next couple of months. We're all lucky to have Paul provide us that information, and I hope you enjoy. Paul, are you ready for your first question?
I am.
Please be definitive. Please be clear in your answers. We're going to ask for direct responses so we can try to keep this a very productive session. Are you okay with that?
I am.
Great. Question number 1. What is the origin of the coronavirus, otherwise known as COVID-19?
I believe COVID-19 is just one more in the family of coronaviruses. It's no different than H1N1 bird flu, is that it's a naturally occurring disease and virus that has made its way into the human population.
Question number 2. Do you place any blame or fault on the Chinese government? And if so, what could they have done better?
I place fault on any totalitarian regime that suppresses free press and information, because this could have gotten out a lot sooner, considering there are theories that this may have already started back in November and December. Being in a closed society by a government does no good for the human race.
If you were to make an assumption based on the knowledge you have today on the true death count in China, what would you estimate it to be?
I believe it would be around potentially 1%
Of what?
of the infected population. And I think the infected population might run 10 or 15%.
Of Chinese population, that would be 100 million people.
Yes,
So you're saying that 1% of 100 million people would be what, 10 million people?
that
1
could-
million people would be 1 million people.
that could be infected, but not necessarily suffer dire consequences from the virus.
Are you ready for question number 3?
I am.
What is your 12-month outlook on the coronavirus in the United States?
I see a peak within the next few months to be expected with greater testing, as would be understood. The more you test, the more you will get. I think it may subside as the summer comes, but you have to remember then winter comes in the southern hemisphere. So if you look at a 12 months of the world versus 12 months of the US, that's a little different. I think we may see this strain come back around again come October or November.
Are you concerned about the data that's coming out of Italy?
Having just recently heard a story on Italy, they defunded a lot of their socialized medicine, which helped to overwhelm their emergency rooms instead of normal care. So I think the numbers are to be expected due to the high volume of testing and the number of people rushing themselves to the emergency room who may be infected but are not in danger.
Question number 4.
Yes.
What is your 12-month outlook for the United States?
I see the number of infected cases and deaths peaking probably within the next couple months. It will subside potentially over the summer, not necessarily just due to warm weather, but the nature of the virus. But we may see it come back around again as part of the normal flu strain that we get hit with in the wintertime.
Question number 5. How will it affect our economy?
Clearly, it's already affecting the economy in the number of people placed out of work, because not everyone can work remotely or even have all the products that you need shipped to your house. What I think you might see, much like we saw a shift to online shopping and some retail, which still exists, you may see many companies planning for an absolute work at home scenario for everyone, and you may very well see disaster recovery testing, including a full-scale everyone work from home for 1 week. How it will affect retail is still up in the air. Restaurants have been quick to adapt to preparing food, cooking it, not touching it, and then having hands-free delivery. So you see a robust capitalistic society adapting to the economic reality of an external threat.
What's your 3-week outlook for New York City?
I think New York City, much like any large metropolitan city, will see its numbers increase and its potential death rate increase as well before it levels out. That many people that close together is a recipe for the spreading of the disease, and judging by the aged population of the United States, one should expect a death rate that is high.
That concludes our questions. Mike, do you have any final parting messages to the rest of the United States?
Yes, but my name is Paul.
Don't worry about that.
I would say remain strong. You are doing risk mitigation. If you think you're infected, or if you're around elderly people, even if you have to make your own masks, wear gloves. Try and clean the hard surfaces of your house after you go out. As they've stated, if you can't stay home for all the reasons other than shopping or taking care of someone, stay at home. And I think do not be fearful of this. Fear is the greatest enemy. The human race has been under attack by viruses since our dawn of existence. We will survive and we will persevere, as we always have.
Thank you, Paul.
You're welcome, Joe.